of my two favorite math words of all time, trigonometric ratios. What does a ratio mean?
Like comparing two things?
A fraction that compares two things. Good teamwork, you two. So, trigonometric ratios. A fraction that's going to compare two things. Before that, two words. Trigonometry means triangle measurement. You have been doing this already. Godiva's at this tall table, and they're next to the tall table.
Wait, what's the first one?
Trigonometry, triangle measure. You have been doing this already. You've been doing short legs, you've been doing long legs, you've been doing hypotenuse, 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90. You've been doing triangle measurement already. It is called trigonometry. The trigonometric ratio compares two sides of our right triangle. Compares two sides of the right triangle. Or lengths, I guess it says. Ratio of two sides of a right triangle. After Pythagoras came this guy named Hipparchus. And he came up with some weird names for these things and how to compare the sides. He said, we are going to use the word sine to compare the opposite leg and the hypotenuse. So here's our first ratio comparing the opposite leg and the hypotenuse. Everybody's writing that? And then the second ratio he called cosine. Cosine is going to compare the adjacent leg and the hypotenuse. And then tangent compares opposite leg and adjacent leg. So basically, Pythagoras and Hipparchus agreed on the word hypotenuse. Hipparchus wanted to call opposite leg and adjacent leg, where Pythagoras was using long leg, short leg. You don't have to memorize it. That's why we wrote it down. Isabel.
So the opposite leg is literally just the one that's opposite the hypotenuse, and the adjacent is the side.
You're very, very close. I'm so glad you asked that. Because if we're going to find the opposite leg and the adjacent leg, we should probably know what those two words mean. Adjacent means like if I said Mason was sitting adjacent to Godiva, next to.
So we're in a triangle, like in a picture.
So I could say Ellie is adjacent to me, but Savannah's on the opposite side of the room as me. But instead of me, it's going to be one of these triangle corners. So this particular one is showing us A. So basically, focus on A Ignore B and C for a minute or 5. Hypotenuse is always hypotenuse. It's never changing. Adjacent is the leg right next to A. So do you see how right next to, like so close it touches A? Right next to it.
So it is the one that's right by the.
Opposite is like Leighton is on the opposite side of the room. Which leg is on the opposite side? Way over here.
And the bottom one is the opposite?
You just have, not always, you just have to look on the opposite side of the triangle. Miss Ann's on the opposite side of the room as me, over there.
What's the opposite of the adjacent?
Adjacent is next to, like, look, Ellie is right next to me, so close I can touch her. Adjacent, next to. Opposite, like way over there.
Then why isn't it always? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let's try the first box. Oh, there's some more forecast. Okay, so this one says focus on X. So I'm putting all of my attention on angle X. Y and Z, sorry, I'm ignoring you for now. Sine, and then usually they put the angle that you're looking at, so sine of X. Sine said look for the opposite leg and put it on top. So which leg is way over there from X? Allison. Which leg?
5.
5. So opposite leg hopped out, 5 hopped in. Sine says put the hypotenuse on the bottom. The hypotenuse has not changed since yesterday or Monday or last Friday or last Thursday. The hypotenuse is still the same. Maddie. Yes, ma'am. My ratio is complete.
How's it 13?
The hypotenuse, always the longest one. Okay. Then we have cosine, focus on X. Cosine, adjacent, next to, like which leg is so close to X that it's touching? 12. Hypotenuse on the bottom.
13.
So really the hypotenuse we're already okay with. We just have to get used to adjacent and opposite a little bit. Last one, tangent, focus on X. What's on top of tangent? Opposite, like Zach Boytz is on the opposite side of the room, way over there. 5. Can't be 13, that's the hypotenuse.
12.
Adjacent, so close.
I'm still confused. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Hypotenuse has to be the hypotenuse. It's the longest one every time.
So it's not always about the. It depends on the angle.
Yes.
Okay. Because at first the reason I was so confused is because I was like, I thought it was the same every time.
So if you looked at a different angle, it would not be the same ratio.
So if it was like Y, focus on Y, then it would be different.
Yes. Ellie.
How do we figure out which variable we're using or whether?
So it has to tell us, or it'll show us a symbol, which I think I have examples of both.
Because it doesn't show the question mark, so it doesn't.
Yep, that's okay. One more thing. Hipparchus got a little lazy sometimes, and he started abbreviating things. Like for sine, he dropped the E for some reason.
Oh, that's what it means in the calculator. I'm so confused.
which then looks like sin, but it's still pronounced sine. And then for cosine, it looks like cos. You still say cosine when you say it out loud. Kind of like abbreviations of states. Even though you write MN, you still say Minnesota when you say it out loud. And then tangent looks like tan, but if you say it out loud, you still say tangent. So if you're feeling a little lazy like Hipparchus, these are the ways he abbreviates it. I know, isn't that nice?
But sine is so simple. It's only 4 letters.
I know.
I don't know.
Okay, so this is what Ellie was saying. The second box, it didn't show her what to focus on, but now we know focus on A, which means B and C, we don't care about you right now. Another way to do this would be to label them right away. Which one do we know is the hypotenuse? 20, the biggest one. Do you agree, Bryn? That was the hypotenuse.
And then the adjacent is 16.
Adjacent is next to, like so close I can touch it. Oh, no, look how close this one is. Oh my goodness, they're
Because
so
the
close.
hypotenuse is always the same as everything. And then the opposite is 12. Because it's the opposite.
Is that why? Because you're thinking, well, hypotenuse is close also? Okay, so hypotenuse can't be a leg because it's hypotenuse. So that's why I'm saying if you find the biggest one right away and label it hypotenuse, there's no possible way it can be adjacent. Opposite, Mason's the opposite side of the room for me. He's way over there. What leg is way over there? So that's another way you can do it. Label it right away and get that over with. So now if I want the sine of A, what's the opposite? Oh, look, I labeled it already. How nice of myself. Hypotenuse. Again, you don't have to memorize it. You just have to look back at your notes and say, oh yeah, cosine has adjacent.
I have a question. Every single time, is it always going to be a proper fraction?
No. Good question. You don't have to memorize it. You just have to look. Oh yeah, tangent has opposite and adjacent. Put them together. Make a ratio. Anybody want to say anything about these ratios? Yeah, you can write the whole thing out. Anybody feeling the need to simplify? Why not?
No.
What can I divide 12 and 20 by?
4, 6. No.
2 or 4 or 2 and 2.
Do we have to simplify on the test?
Why not? Let's just, because we love math.
It's not required.
3/5.
If I forget to simplify it, will we get like a doctor?
Let's just practice simplifying. Leighton,
4/5.
good work. Are you writing it down? Try it. 12/16. Nothing wrong with simplifying. So Hannah, you're live back there? Okay, so remember I said they're either going to tell us or they're going to give us a symbol? Here's the symbol they gave us. Focus here, eyes, look here at that symbol. If you felt like that labeling first thing was going to help you, let's keep doing it.
Can we like label them with letters? Like A.
I wouldn't use an O if I were you.
Well, yeah, no,
Well, I know the hypotenuse has to be the longest one. So get that out of the way.
and then
Adjacent means next to, like super close. Opposite, like Preston's on the opposite side of the room. He's so far away. Preston, top of sine.
5.
Top of sine.
5.
Opposite.
3.
Bottom of sine, Pete.
5.
Hypotenuse, 5. Godiva, top of cosine. Adjacent, 4. Mason, bottom of cosine.
5.
Hypotenuse, 5. See, look it. We're learning things. Are more wrinkles feeling in your brain? Do you feel them? Wrinkles? Savannah, top of tangent.
I don't know. 3.
No, I need you to know, not Brandon. What did you write?
Nothing yet. Yeah, you did. Oh, opposite.
Opposite. Which side did I label as the opposite?
3.
Zach Hellstrom, bottom of tangent.
4.
Adjacent, 4.
are we getting a worksheet or are we?
I'm feeling better already. Aren't you? Feeling better already. Learn something new. Mission accomplished.
What's the weird O?
That is a Greek letter. Beta? A Greek letter that I can't remember at this moment. I want to say theta. Can't remember.
Don't we
It's
use like the Roman alphabet or the Greek alphabet? One of them for our like English.
Roman numerals.
Because I know we use the Roman.
Greek, like pi is a Greek letter. Alpha, beta, kappa, delta.
Blah, 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 blah.
It's some Greek letter. I want to say it's theta, but don't quote me on that. But that's the symbol saying, hey, look here. Focus here. Which makes 1 the
No.
hypotenuse. Savannah, label these. It's easier to do it if you label it. Which makes 0.6. Why is it so far away?
It's the opposite.
Oh, it's the opposite. And 0.8 adjacent next to.
Wait, can we have decimals and fractions?
I know, so weird that there's going to be some decimals in our fractions. Leighton, what's on top of sine?
Oh, that's the hypotenuse.
On the top of sine.
6.
Point.
0.
It is 0.6, but why is that at the top?
Because it's across.
It's the opposite.
Opposite. Zach Boyd's bottom of sine?
Like on
You
literally on silent.
Here's
Take his
sine.
phone.
Here's the bottom. Hypotenuse, what number did you write for your hypotenuse? 1! He had it all written down. Maddie, top of cosine?
The what?
Top of cosine.
0.8.
Because Adjacent.
Oh.
Isabel, bottom of cosine.
1.
Because
It's a hypotenuse.
I know it looks so silly to have a decimal in there. Just leave it. We're fine. Drake, top of tangent. How come? Ellie, bottom of tangent.
0.8.
Because
It's the closest.
adjacent. Allison, you feel like simplifying this?
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
It is 6, 8? No.
Can we
3/4.
just not simplify this?
Point
The
3,
decimals?
point
Like,
3.
I didn't know the first part. This is- Oh, that's funny.
Just divided by 2, right? Yeah, not hard. Use angle R. Focus all attention on R.
33 is the
P and Q, sorry, you're out. If I label these first, it's probably going to help me. The longest one has to be the hypotenuse.
65.
Adjacent, so close I could touch you.
33.
Opposite, like Bryn's way over there, opposite of me. Remember, sometimes they're going to put the angle in there. Sine of R, we're working on R. Weston, top of sine.
60 plus. I don't know.
Opposite. What did you write opposite?
56.
Bottom of sine, Allie. Bryn, top of cosine.
33.
Bottom of cosine, Addison. Can you believe how easy this is once we learned it and practiced it a couple times? Preston, top of tangent.
No, there's so many.
56.
Bottom, Pete.
33.
So it's not always going to be a proper fraction.
Oh, improper. Just leave it. As soon as we turn it into a mixed number, now we don't have a ratio anymore. So let's just leave it like that. Last one. K. You're in. I and J. You're out. Godiva, which one's the hypotenuse? Mason, which one's opposite?
80.
Next two must be this one then. Zach Hellstrom, top of sine.
The opposite leg.
Which would be
80.
bottom of sine, Savannah. Hypotenuse has to be the longest one. Leighton, top of cosine.
39.
How come?
Because it's right there.
Right next to it. Bottom of cosine, Maddie.
89.
How come?
Because it's the hypotenuse.
Top of tangent, Zach points.
Looks like it says tank. Safe. Tangent. The opposite. And what do you know that is
80. Isabel, bottom of tangent.
39.
Tangent is often improper, not every time, but often improper. Don't panic about it, just leave it. You don't have to memorize it, which is why I hope you wrote it down. But there's one thing that I would like to tell you. My 7th grade math teacher told me this. Turns out it worked like a charm, and I remembered it ever since. There's an easy way to remember it. If the highlighter works. This is for dramatic effect. See how dramatic it is?
Whoa.
So, nope. Ka.
Sounds like a word in like a
Who is that? Drake, you know the trick. Sokatoa. If you remember that, you don't need your notes ever again. Like you can be in 11th grade taking your ACT and write this on the side of your page and you'll know it. Sine needs opposite and hypotenuse. Cosine needs adjacent and hypotenuse. Tangent needs opposite and adjacent. Are you ready to hear the best thing that's ever happened to you? Get ready. The best thing that's ever happened to you. The best thing that's ever happened to you. Get ready.
Called it.
You're still supposed Is this like a 10-hour loop?
Good idea. Let's loop it for the next 20 minutes.
Opposite hypotenuse sine. Opposite hypotenuse cosine.
He's making more money than we are, Mason.
Adjacent hypotenuse tangent. Opposite adjacent tangent. Opposite adjacent tangent. Opposite adjacent. One side is a hypotenuse, and the other two sides depend on which angle you're focusing on. Pick one angle and look. There's one side that's the opposite. You can clearly see that there's also an adjacent side. Sine, opposite hypotenuse sine, opposite hypotenuse sine, opposite hypotenuse cosine, adjacent hypotenuse cosine, adjacent hypotenuse cosine, adjacent hypotenuse tangent, opposite adjacent tangent, opposite adjacent tangent. Opposite adjacent. Every Thursday.